Hi everyone, we have made it to our last week of e-learning. I know it feels like it has dragged on for forever. As a couple reminders, everything is open and available in Canvas, so if there's anything you've missed or you want to go back and complete, whether it was from last week or whether it was from before spring break, those assignments are open. So complete those. You might need to email me and let me know that they're done. I've been trying to go back and check everything, but obviously, checking every single student for every single assignment just gets a little bit overwhelming, and I can miss some things at times. So today we are going to do a quick review of some things we've talked about with functions. Tomorrow you are going to have your last quiz review, and then you're going to take an assessment on Thursday. It does not count as a final exam. It will just go into the quiz category in PowerSchool that will cover the things that we've just been reviewing these last few days. There's going to be some stuff with equations, inequalities, and functions on it all together. Okay, so when we are doing some review of functions, here are the main things that I want to make sure that we are okay with. The first thing that we should understand is if we are given something, whether it's in function notation or whether it is a function rule, and we are given a table, okay, we should then be able to complete a table and find the rest of the values that go with it. For example, if there were numbers over here in the x values as -5, 0, 3, and 7, we should be able to plug in those values and find the corresponding output values. And we do that, you can do it by hand, you can do it with a calculator, but we do that by plugging in each of these values for x. So instead of saying 3 times x, we'll do it once with -5, and we'll say 3 times -5 plus 5, right? So we'll say 3 times -5 plus 5. That gives us a -10. Then we'll repeat that process with 0. So now we'll say 3 times 0 plus 5. And if you're using a calculator like mine, you can just move your cursor up and then change that into a 0. And then we will do 3 times 3, which is 9, plus 5, okay, which will give us a 14. And again, you could do that in your calculator. And then we'll do a 3 times a 7 plus 5, which would give us a 26. Okay, we should also be able to plot and read points in the coordinate plane. So we've been working on graphing. It's really important that we make sure we know those ordered pairs and where they are. Okay, so we need to make sure that we are okay with if I say plot the point 2, 4, we all recognize that this first number is telling us how much to move right or left, and the second number is telling us how much to move up or down, right? This is our x, this is our y. Our horizontal is our x, our vertical is our y. So to plot 2, 4, we would go over 2, to the right 2, and up 4. Okay, we should be able to do that in reverse order. So if we have a point over here, we should be able to name it. We should know that we're at -3 on the x-axis, and then we're going up to +2 on the y-axis. Okay, so you're going to have a couple of those that you have to do of naming and reading points. We should also be able to talk about domain and range. So we should be able to look at something and know what the domain and what the range is. So a couple reminders on that vocab. The domain is always the x values, and the range is always the y values. Okay, and when we are talking about domain and range, we have a very specific way that we need to list them. We are going to list them in braces. Okay, so we need to go inside here, and inside the braces, there's going to be no repeats, and it's going to be in numerical order. Okay, so if I say here's some info about a function, so I can just take this table that I have up here, right? This was a function of y equals 3x plus 5. And I know that I have ordered pairs of -5, -10, 0, 5, 3, 14, and 7 comma 26, right? There's some info that I know. If I want to list my domain, I'm going to list all of my X values. So X values are always the first number in an ordered pair. Okay, so my domain in the squiggles, right, in braces is going to be a -5, 0, 3, and 7. Now, we were lucky on this one because these were already in numerical order and there weren't any repeats, so we didn't have to worry too much about that. Our range is going to be our Y values with the same rules. And again, this one we're pretty lucky on because that's already taken care of for us. Okay, but sometimes we have to do a little bit more work to make sure that we're sticking to those correct rules. So let's say that we are given info about some type of relation, and we know that these are some ordered pairs. Zero comma 1 and -6 comma 7. Okay. We are then going to find the domain and range the same way, but we'll have to do some work to write it appropriately. So our domain is asking us to look at the X values. So here are my X values, right? Always the first number in an ordered pair. I'm listing it in my squiggles, my braces. And I need the smallest number first. So -6 is my smallest. Then I have -2, then 0, then 4. Okay, my range is always my Y values. Okay, again, I'm gonna list it in my squiggles and my braces, and I need least to greatest, so I have 1, 7. Now, the rule says that I can't list any repeats, so once I list that 7 one time, that accounts for both of them. I'm not gonna list it twice, I'm just gonna put that 11 after it. Okay, so there's our domain and range. The last thing that I wanna make sure that we are okay with is we should be able to tell the difference between functions and relations. So if we want to tell the difference between functions and relations, remember a relation is always the case. Everything that we're looking at or talking about is a relation. Okay, but if we're the specific type of relation that we call a function, then we are going to have no repeat in the X value. Okay, if it's just a relation and it doesn't qualify as a function, then it will repeat in the X. Okay, the Y can do whatever it wants to do, but it's the X that we have to be concerned with. So if I gave you something like this, and we wanted to decide if this was a function or not a function, right? Is it just a relation? Is it a function or is it not a function? We would be looking at the X values. So I'd be looking at these numbers. My Y values don't matter. Okay, and in my X values, I see that 4 listed twice. So I see a repeat here and here, right? If there is a repeat, then it is not a function. It's just a relation. But we also talked about the fact that there are multiple ways to represent functions, which means we might also see this listed as a mapping. And if you're like, holy cow, Mrs. McKinney, I don't even remember what a mapping is, there's a good chance that you didn't do that information. So go back to the e-learning from previously and find the stuff that's over functions. Okay, it'll go into more detail on those videos. But let's say we're given something that is written in mapping format. Right? We've already done these. We've talked about them. Okay, and let's say we have this. Okay, this has one line from 2 to the 0, which means 2 is used once. One line from 3 to the 9, which means 3 is used once. And one line from 7 to 5, which means that the 7 is used once. Since all of those X values, right, the X values were always on the left, since all of these X values only have one line, we would say that that is a function. But as soon as we add another line, So let's just say we squeeze a number in here and we put 1 here. Now this 2 has 2 lines coming from it, and the 2 is being used twice. Okay, that means we have an x value that does repeat, and that would not be a function. Okay, so it's always looking at that x value. If it was given to us in a table format, okay, again, we are focusing on the x value only. So while we do see a repeat over here in the y does not affect if it's a function or not. 1, 5, and 7 does not have a repeat, so we would say that this is a function. Okay, so your e-learning is in ALEKS under the assignments. You're going to be doing, I think like 5 or 6 questions just reviewing these topics. Tomorrow we'll put all the review together, and then on our last day, you'll just be taking a quiz that will cover the different things we've been reviewing. Have a great rest of the day.